Hi guys, Bobby Gass here. I picked up some records today because I had to soothe my. What happened is I had an appointment at a government office today, and I didn't bring some sort of official thing with my address on it. I had all my ID, but they needed another piece, so it was a wasted effort. I had to cab it because it was raining today. Anyhow, so to make myself feel better, I bought some records. Actually, I was looking for the Trogs. I says I need to find me a Trogs album to make me feel happier. And I went in there. They never had any Trogs, but I picked up some records. Right, I picked up a 45, and I didn't know this. It's Sunny in the Four Shades, but the title really got to me here. Broken Hearted Surfer on Glow Records. Broken Hearted Surfer by Sunny in the Four Shades, and on the flip side is Beetle Boogie. Now that sounds familiar, but I just had to pick it up, right? 45s, I like the 45s. And I picked up something here on spec. Everything else I knew, but I picked this thing up on spec because I really like the cover art. The snakes and all of that kind of stuff. I like snakes and Saturn up in the corner. Plus, I was reading in the back here. On the second line here, I could see that these guys, part of what was recorded here, was in New York, and I never heard of these guys. Was in New York, and they recorded some of their songs on this at Convocation Hall down here in Toronto. And I said to myself, if these guys were good enough to gig Convocation Hall, then they got to be worth a listen. Plus, I like the cover, right? But actually, the Convocation Hall thing sold me, right? So when I got home, first thing I did was listen to it, sample it, because I still got to clean this, right? Good shape, great shape. And actually, it's proggy, but not kind of proggy rock or proggy jazz rock. Something different from what I'm used to hearing and everything, but I found it interesting, so I kept sampling songs, right? I mean, Celebration was one of the tunes on it, the only tune actually that sounded familiar to me. It must have been on the radio or something at some time. This album's from '74, but one song on it, Dove, kind of reminded me. It's softer. It kind of reminded me of Pink Floyd-y, a little bit of Pink Floyd, and on some of their softer passages and moments. But actually, if I can, I'll play some of this at the end of the video for you. We'll see if YouTube allows it or whatever, right? We'll take a chance on another strike. Anyhow, I like the album cover. It's kind of spacey. Speaking of spacey, Sean Connery is James Bond. Diamonds Are Forever. Look at the babes. He's always got the great babes, Sean Connery and all of that, right? Now, I got this to go with my other James Bond records, right? I'm going to get, all the James Bond, well, the Sean Connery James Bond, that's From Russia with Love, and this is Thunderball. I need Dr. No, and I guess I'd have to check out, right? But I picked this up today, a really nice copy of Diamonds Are Forever, right? Sean Connery's the only James Bond that was, he's the real James Bond, Sean Connery. I also picked up a really nice copy of Ball by Iron Butterfly, right? Now, this was, their third album. It was right after, this is kind of softer. It was, but still got some nice stuff on it. It was right after In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida, right? 69, I believe this was. And it's on the Canadian Yellow Atco, Mustard Atco, whatever you want to call that color. I guess you can't see it too good. Nice copy of it, though, eh? I also picked up a copy of Deja Vu. I wasn't sure whether I had this or not. I'm pretty sure I do, but it was cheap, and I grabbed it anyhow. But actually, the Vinyl Museum, the plastic little holder thing, that's what attracted me to it, because that used to be a record store here in Toronto that was a pretty good record store. It was the Spudmeister's favorite record store, as a matter of fact. And look what I picked up in a $2 bin. Excuse me. The Louvin Brothers. The Louvin Brothers. Now this is country and western music. You know, mountain music, right? And this is this is on an old Rainbow Capitol record that's really, really heavy, 1962. And they just don't make records like this anymore. It's, you know, it's thick. Louvin Brothers, they're great, eh? And this is Weapon of Prayer. This is all, you know, the hymn singing and all of that kind of stuff, right? Just great kind of music, right? Louvin Brothers. Beautiful. I really like getting that one, and that's in great shape, too. Yummy. I also got Tales of the Yukon, Hank Snow. Isn't that a beautiful scene there? And why I got this, because of the tunes that are on it. The Yukon, yeah, everybody knows what the Yukon is, right? But it's the Spell of the Yukon, the Cremation of Sam McGee, Dangerous Dan McGrew, The Face on the Barroom Floor, the Ballad of Blasphemous Bill, The Ballad of One-Eyed Mike, The Ballad of Hard Luck Henry, and My Friends. Now these are poems by Robert Service, a Canadian poet, one of my all-time favorite poets, eh? And this is Hank Snow, Canadian, doing them, right? And actually, I have a first edition of Robert Service right here. This is a 1909 Canadian first edition. And, well, The Ballad of the Northern Lights. Oh, that's a long poem. Ballad of the Northern Lights. The Ballad of Pious Pete. The Ballad of Pious Pete. The Ballad of Blasphemous Bill. The Ballad of One-Eyed Mike. The Ballad of the Brand. The Ballad of Hard Rock Henry. The Ballad of Gumboot Bend. Robert Service, a great poet. I used to read poetry. Isn't that something? The Yukon? I always wanted to go fish that. Actually, I'll tell you a Yukon story. My granddad had, he was a First World War veteran. And he had, there was 4 brothers, and his sister went over there and, you know, signed up and went over there. One brother died, one brother lost a leg. They wrote a book about this, about his sister, my Aunt Claire. But another brother, a younger brother, tried to join up. They caught him, and, you know, he had to go home. So he went to New Brunswick. He's from Nova Scotia. So he went to New Brunswick and signed up in New Brunswick and, you know, lied about his age and all of that again. And I think he even used a false name. But anyhow, his sister, who was on the front lines over in Europe, she was a nurse. She found out from her mother, that her younger brother, kid was only like 15 or 16, I don't know. But anyhow, he was too young. But he had, you know, gone someplace and enlisted. He hadn't come home. Nobody knows where he was. So what she did is she grabbed a general. She went over to England where, you know, the Canadian soldiers were staging, and she went through all the soldiers and found her kid brother and sent him home. Anyhow, he got so pissed off and mad at the family that he went, now this is in the 15, 16, 17 days, right? When the First World War was on. This guy got so pissed off, he went up to the Yukon when they sent him back to Canada. You know, he went up to the Yukon. For 17 years stayed up there. He was so damn mad at everybody. That's us gases. Anyhow, I'll play some of that music for you here, guys.
Wow, music from P.F.M. from the album Cook.